there! Welcome back to the Whole Bucket. I am Cheryl and I will be doing some crafting with you today. So it is day number 10 of Defemerember, your daily dose of ephemera making in December. I think I said that the way Louise does. I tried anyway. Number 10 is leaves and envelope. Those are the prompts to use today. So I have a pile of stuff, as usual. Today is going to be a little bit different though, because I've decided to do some experimenting with this sheer fabric and this envelope that didn't get used yesterday, plus the stuff I had set aside for today already, which is a vellum envelope with there's some leaves stuff in there. And then we have the page for today, the printed paper that I made from their digitals, plus whatever animal is in here. And today I did not peek. Yesterday I peeked and I knew it was a hamster. Today I did not peek. Today it is, aw, raccoons. They're so cute. Okay. I was hoping it would be a bird, because that would just make sense. Birds in the leaves. But I suppose raccoons hang out in the leaves too, don't they? I'm not sure. I don't know raccoon culture. And we always have snack time. So snack time today is tea number 10. Let's take that right out of there. And a cookie to go with it. So I already opened the bag to avoid some of that super crinkle. Oh, that's a strange color. I'm going to assume that that's a greenish color and that it is pistachio. There are double pistachios, I believe. And what kind of tea? Coffee cocoa tea. Coffee cocoa. Okay. So super mocha? Anyways, let's get it steeping, shall we? Let's get it steeping. It sounds delicious. Delicious. Let's get the tea. Let's get the teapot. That water is hot and steaming. Yikes. All right, get all the way in there. Okay, set that aside. Let it do some steeping while we do some working, or experimenting in this case. So I am actually going to make use of my pause button today. So hopefully we'll end up with a reasonable length video. We'll see about that. And I will be doing it because there is serious drying time involved with this experiment. So I have some leaf stamps that I can certainly play with and use. I have the leaf garland ribbon thing that everybody uses. As far as I can tell, everybody's got some of that. And I've got this fabric that I've already mentioned. And it's got a bunch of leaves all over it. And I'm just really going to find a look at that great big one. That's neato. I'm just going to find a section that I don't mind cutting apart. Like maybe this tulip right here. So think? That, if I take the tulips right off the side, right, it does just show up a bunch of leaves, because really I just want leaves. And there's that great big leaf that I liked so much. I mean, it's beautiful, but that's kind of boring, just one leaf in the middle. There's a different kind of leaf. Again, boring. And back to the tulip. What I didn't want to do was just decide something smack dab in the middle of this sheet of fabric and cut a big hole right in the middle of it. But wouldn't you know, that's where a big flower is, and that's where the big leaves are. Wouldn't you know? So I think what I'll end up doing is layering. I think I will go ahead and put this on over here, and then we'll layer some of that other, those single leaves also. And if you've worked with vellum, you know that the minute this gets any glue on it, it is going to curl up and want to fight with every single thing I do. So I'm going to make some decisions a little bit right now, like how do I want to put this in a book? I think I'm going to want to put it so it opens this way, and either sew it into a signature, so this is on a different page, or put it over a page. So it's a flip out. And then on the previous side, this could actually be glued here and up here, and it could make a tuck spot right there. So that's not a total decision. That's a couple of different ways I can use it, but I think it's clear that I want to use it sideways like this. So let's grab a scissors first and make a more reasonable piece of this fabric. There it is. There's the leaf I want to use. I know I'm off screen cutting because this is, there we go. This is a good one to use because this is right in the corner, so I'm not really destroying anything. In case I decide I like this technique, I could always use those much bigger flowers, right? And maybe I won't do layering. Look at how, I think, you know what? It's experiment. So let's just get something down and see what happens. I think that's what we should do. Okay. So here's experiment number 1. And I am going to use Collage Page. Don't know if you have ever used this. I hear, and I have not done any actual experimenting, but I have heard that this dries harder and more matte than Mod Podge. I don't know if that's true. So I'm going to put a pretty hefty layer on. Let me grab my, let me not spill my water all over. That would be great. I'm going to put a pretty hefty amount on and grab my spread it brush. Sure enough, it's trying to curl up right away. It's got layers underneath it though, those folded layers, right? For the flaps of the envelope, so it's not really allowing itself to fold up. That's kind of cool. Kind of using this seam edge to make sure I'm getting things kind of straight. And now I'm just going to push the fabric into the Mod Podge and spread it with my hands. I can be nice and gentle and feel where the medium is going. And maybe where it needs some more. Okay. So there's some places where it's not really covering. Now the question, of course, is going to be, is this really going to stick? Because vellum is not a good, vellum is just not very good at holding on to stuff either. So the reason I decided to do experiment day is because I love vellum. I just love the frosted look of it. So if I can figure out different ways of using it and decorating it that will last in a journal, I am happy as a clam. Oh, look how wrinkly this is getting. I don't know if I mind, you know? It'll give it some character, and once it dries, I can probably flatten it. The only thing that I'm really concerned about is that all these wrinkles will make places that aren't going to stick. That is envelope in there though. How about there? Yeah, that's envelope in there. As long as it's not big air pockets, I have a chance, right? All right, there is experiment number 1. Now I gotta set this aside. And we're just gonna let that dry. Now, experiment number 2. I just love envelopes with windows. And they're not that hard to get decorated. But I struggle with finding different ways to use them. So I'm going to do something with this one to make it kind of like the last one, which I've never really done with a windowed envelope. And that this can also be sewn in a signature, right? Or set over a page. If I glued it here and here and here and here over a page, then it makes a pocket on each side of the page and a tuck spot on each side of the page. That's kind of intriguing. I was gonna cut a straight edge right away, but I guess I'm not going to. I'm gonna pull off a couple of these bigger stragglers because they're gonna get in the way, but I'm not gonna cut the straight edge until we're done. Do all the trimming at once. So the thing that's giving me pause about this is super slippery paper. So again, I don't know how this is going to stick. And how do I make sure I stay out of the window? I think what I should have done is, well, I didn't plan ahead of time. I mean, that's a problem. Oh, look at those guys can peek right out the window. That's so cute. All right, we're gonna have to think about that later. But let's see what we can do here. When you're doing this with a napkin, You know what? I'm hitting the pause button right now. I'm going to try something old-fashioned. Excuse me, just one second. And I'm back, just like that. I've decided to use this. I thought I must have some sort of leave napkin, and sure enough I do. And I guess my idea for this just wasn't ready for production, so I'm going to have to rethink the paper over there. But the napkin trick is a pretty well-known one, and we're going to do that because it'll give me a nice base. Now, if you don't know how to pull the layers of your napkin apart, this is just a piece of plain old cellophane tape, and it will help get the tearing started. Because when you do the technique I'm going to use right now, you only want one layer of napkin. Some napkins are 2 layers thick, some are 3. I think most are 2 these days. Ah! Whoops. Oops, oops, oops. I made a mistake. Okay, there we go. I pulled this piece right here off and put it on top of the envelope that's drying. That's a little ridiculous. That's not going to work out very well. Okay. Let's see if can I tear this off decent. I just don't want that extra layer in there because these books get, I mean, when I do with journals, they get fat so easy, don't they? If you're a journal maker, you probably already know that. If you're a journaler, you probably already know that. There we go. So, here's the thing, is I don't want this window to get used up. And this is going to go over the whole thing, but it's going to tear away fairly easy. So that's what I'm aiming for. There is a bit of a problem though, that the design of this envelope will show through. And I really don't want my envelope in my journal to have a Citibank address on it, because I don't want a Citibank credit card and I don't want to advertise Citibank. So here we go. Let's add a little bit of design just to obscure that. So I grabbed just plain black ink, and yikes, this stamping block is filthy. I wonder, it feels like I used it for glue. Maybe I did. Maybe I have a stamp that's ridiculous. But let's see if we can get some stamping on here. Not necessarily to cover anything, because it'll all be obscured in part of the design, right? But just to add leaf shapes. Leaf shapes back there in the background. Under these other leaf shapes. One thing you can also do is multi-layer this. So I could always take some collage fodder and collage all the paper parts. Every part not window. move up a little. Let's move up. There we go. Now that I've started this, I kind of want to keep going. I don't suppose it will make any difference if I go put green under this, because that teal that the napkin is really dark. So I'm assuming it won't make any difference to put green under this. But I kind of wanna. I guess it is experiment day, so I could totally try some green under here and see how much difference it actually makes. Oh, I'm gonna leave it at 3. Let's pull out a green because it's experiment day. I'm pulling out Rustic Wilderness. Some of this black. There we go. There we go. Now let's try some Rustic Wilderness. Just see if this is going to do anything at all. I don't know that it will. Because it's going to get wet, right, from the Mod Podge. Ouch! Ooh, kitty claws just got my leg. My little boy kitty is not very graceful, and he thinks climbing on me is fun. Apparently climbing in the screen is fun too. This is Malik. Malik, say goodbye. No, you can't. No, you can't sit here, honey. Hold on, peeps. Hold on. Ow! Ow, ow, ow. Oh, ouchies, ouch. Okay, sorry for the yelling, guys. He got me. He got me. He did not want me to put him down. And he poked a hole in my shoulder. He's kind of a cuddle bug and a little baby. I always explain Malik in such a way, like if you could put a 4-year-old boy in a kitty body, that would be him. Okay, so some of these words are still awfully seeable. But I'm going to do this anyway because we're going to end up with layers. I'm going to let this dry for just a second. See, as soon as I put the Collage Podge on this envelope, all these green ones are going to smear because I didn't think to use permanent ink. That was silly of me. So what can I do? I guess I can just be extra careful is what I can do. So we're gonna put a line right here and down here and up there again. Now I'm gonna spread this out. I'll be as careful as I can to try to make up for my poor choices in materials. Mind if it smears too much, really. If it still gets hints of leaf shapes, that's great. But honestly, it's all collage-y, so it's fine. And I'm smearing, you can tell, right? Let me see if you can tell in the picture. Well, a little bit. It's awfully glary though, isn't it? The green is smearing a little bit, not too bad. All right, so I'm gonna do that, and then I'm just going to wipe out of the window a little bit. I don't really need to do that yet, but I'm gonna do that a little bit here. And then we're just gonna take this and I'm gonna follow the line that is naturally in the envelope or on the napkin and lay this right down. If I can see, I can't see what I'm doing. Well, it's down now, so whatever happens, happens at this point. There, we're down. I don't know how well we did on the bottom here. Could have done better. This could have come down quite a bit. And I would have liked that better, but that's all right. It's an experiment, right? It's an experiment. All right, so once that's down like that, I'm gonna do another layer. Same as with the fabric, because I want this to be really strong when it's done. And again, this one is wrinkling up, which I do not mind at all. It just gives it texture and interest later. It's fine. It's fine. There we go. I can see the edges of the envelope. So I know I'm getting all the spots. And while it is wet, I'm going to just do this. I'm pulling off more than I want to, but that's okay. It's okay. Where it's showing envelope, that's all right, because I will just add a little more to the edges at some point. But this is so easy to tear away and to clear the window when it's still wet. I think it's not that hard when it's dry either, to be honest. But I don't know about you, but I am a terribly impatient person. Terribly impatient. It makes for interesting crafting. So I have to find ways to make up for things that don't look quite the way you may want them to, because I was too impatient to wait for drying or curing or whatever. All right. All right. Not bad. I kind of even like it that it's so raggedy. I kind of like the raggedy window. All right, so I am going to pause again, and when I come back, the experiment envelopes will both be dry, and we will move forward with Leaves and Envelopes Day on Defemmerimber. Be back shortly. Okay, so I am back, and I have done a number of things, and we're going to see what we ended up with. So first of all, I took my piece of printed paper and I cut it to shape and used it for the insert on the envelope to cover up the advertising that was in there. And I glued the other piece of the napkin to the back of the envelope, and I'm just going to trim this up right now and see what we have as far as an envelope pocket piece goes. This is certainly a work in progress regardless of how this ends up looking, but I am pretty excited about it so far. As far as an experiment goes, this one I'm kind of liking. So I even like the ruffled top and the ruffled window, although some of these spots like this I'll probably end up covering them up more, right? Because the little things just bug the bejeebers out of me. But all in all, not too shabby. I can never just let things be, even when I like them. So there is what would go in a book. So in order to take a fair look at that and see how it's going to go, I started some stuff to make a raccoon card. So here's our raccoons. I took some more of those leaf stamps and I just stamped a bunch, and then I just splashed some glue. I splashed some green and then I outlined with some green. I don't know how much of that will end up staying because this needs to be trimmed, and we're going to do that right now. We're going to trim this cardstock. So here's the thing. First of all, a confession. I've melted my window a little bit, so I've got some crinkle stuff going on. And I believe it was Barbara at 49 Dragonflies that I was watching a video of yesterday. Whoever it was I was watching said, "Don't melt your window." Wait a minute, it might have been Louisa. Okay, well, it was somebody. And they said, "Don't melt your windows." And I, sure enough, the very next day melted my window, but not on this side. But here's the thing, is this guy is too wide by a little bit to fit in there, and not tall enough to be seen. So these are going to get cut out and be put on a card, and we need to make the card fit in here. I know I saw my little ruler right there. Let's see how wide we want it to be. About 4 1/4 inches would be lovely. And how tall? At least 5. Okay, so tall wise at least 5. This only goes up to 5, so I'm just going to put the edge of the paper over and cut it to some random length. Some random length, somewhere around 6 inches, so that I have room to adjust later. And then we're going to give this a nice trim so that it is a clean edge over here. And I don't want these giant blobs, right? I just want them to be coming in at the edges. Kind of like that. That's not great, but it'll do. And then we want this, what did I say, 4 1/4 inches wide? Let's see how that would be. That actually gives us more trim on this side, more trim space. So let's do it again over here. To get more into the leaf design. And let's see what 4 1/4 looks like now. 4 1/4. Oh, that's a nice looking card right there. That's a nice looking card. Let's try that. Oh, I shouldn't get rid of the trimmer yet, should I? Cause, what if I just want to trim the sides off and glue the whole thing on? No, I don't. I'm going to want to make a scene of some sort with these raccoons. And they're just barely going to fit. Okay. All right, before we do anything else, let's check and make sure this is going to fit in the pocket it's meant to fit in. And it is. And our raccoon buddies are going to have to go right about here in order to be peeking out the window. So right about on that really nice leaf, which is a shame because it's a really nice leaf. But that'll be all right, right? And how tall did that go? That went way tall enough. So I'm going to trim off the top too. Get rid of some of that extra chunky green. And get us a nice clean line on the top. That might end up getting trimmed more. I notice there's a lot of extra space for these raccoon buddies that we just don't really need. Okay, so I'm going to start cutting these guys out, and I'm first going to do my decal scissors. Because it really tends to be my favorite. And I'm going to leave some of these guys as background shrubbery because it is Leaves Day and there are leaves in that shrubbery. Imagine that, leaves in the shrubbery. Who ever heard of such a thing? Okay. So our raccoons are cut out. What will they look like down there? I think they look darn adorable down there. If I put them at the very bottom though, they're not going to show up. They're going to have to go like this. They're going to have to go up a bit. Boy, and I don't have to trim too much either. They're going to fit on there kind of nice. These little guys. I have to trim a little tiny bit around his tail. Suni, you cannot be here. Honey, honey, no. Get down. Okay. And I can trim this little tiny edge right off here, and that should fit. That should fit right there. Oh, just, oh my goodness, just a hair. Just fits. Okay, so we have raccoons, we have leaves. We're going to turn this into a card somehow, and it's going to go in this pocket. So we're going to set that one aside, and I'm liking that. And we're going to pull over, if I can grab it here, the vellum envelope. Look what a wrinkled, warped mess that is when you look at it from this side. Yikes, man. But on this side, look at how pretty it kind of is. So I'm going to trim it and not judge it yet. I'm going to trim it and just hold my judgment. Although, look, I didn't get the corner glued. I'll worry about that later, I guess. Let's see what we ended up with. Oh, what a wrinkled mess we weave. I'm going to turn that into a poem, but when first we practice to deceive doesn't really make sense on this Oh, what a tangled envelope. Alright, all 4 sides trimmed. And if I could press this and get it to lay flat, what did we end up with? That is super pretty. But is it a usable product? That's the question. That is the question. Can I get a usable product out of this? Maybe I put this in my my little example journal just to show stuff that you shouldn't do. Excuse me. Throat's a bit scratchy. Maybe it's tea time. Guess what, guys? It's tea time because my throat's a bit scratchy. Let's try our tea and cookies and then take a look at how these pieces would look in a book. So this was coffee cocoa tea. That sounds a little, it sounds like too many things in one tea. It doesn't really taste anything like coffee cocoa to me. My taste is a little off because of the COVID thingy, right? But, yeah. Okay, let's try the cookie. That's my favorite part every time. That is definitely a pistachio macaron. And that's delicious. And I have glue on my hands and I'm probably eating glue. I guess I don't really care. Silly girl. Okay, that was a delicious cookie. This tea, not so delicious, but it is scratching my throat. So it is suiting a purpose. Now I think we're just going to take a look at how these two things would look inside a journal. And I'm not going to worry about, what am I not going to worry about? I'm not going to worry about finished products today. This was experimenting. We are going to worry about, is this a pass or a fail in the experiment world? All right, let me grab the book and let's see. Here's the guy we ended up with yesterday. I let him dry before I stuck him in the pocket. So we got a hamster peeking out of a little hamster nest. And there is the pocket he goes in. He doesn't go in there easily because I made his nest so fluffy. But you know, after some time he'll get squashed. And there's his hamster friend coming to visit him. Now let's try this guy. So if this guy was in a signature, of course I can't really do that. I can simulate it. Let's find the middle. Is that the middle? That is the middle. So I can simulate it. If it was sewn in, it would be like this and like this. So here's two very nice like platforms for something. More tuck spots or more pockets, or maybe just a matte spot where you could, you know, glue your photos or something. And then there's that. And then here's the card that I'm not going to finish for this project on video because I keep making videos too long. But that would go in there. And those little raccoons will peek through. Now, the other one, where did I put it? Right here. The other one could also go sewn into a signature and would look like this sitting in a book. And then you would turn some pages and it could hold things here. And then you'd turn more pages and this would be the finishing of it. This could then be glued to a page like this for a tuck spot, or to the opposite side of that page and for a tuck spot. Or the other idea I had was it could be an over the page thingy. So what if it went over a page like this? Okay, so now, well, I see that it's actually a little too deep for this particular journal. It doesn't really fit. There we go. Okay, so you could glue this down or attach it somehow to make a tuck there. And then on the other side of that page, it would be a flip out. And then stuff would be tucked in there. So there are my leaves and experiments. Leave and envelope experiments for Defemmerember Day 10. And while I'm away today, I guess I will make this card with this raccoon on it. And at the start of tomorrow, I will show what ended up happening. That sounds like a good plan. All right, I'll see you tomorrow.